Hi all. It's been more than 11 sessions for me talking about OpenAI and its APIs. Today's session, I believe, is one of the most important one, a special one, a difficult one, and I believe one of the most powerful one, and it's called as function calling. um, it has so much power. For example, the whole application, UI application or chat application you would have seen is more often, uh, interacting with some kind of data, right? For example, if it is an online, um, you know, something like Amazon, where you want to buy, things on your portal, you basically say, okay, give me the list of shoes, and then get list shoes is an function that has been called. Or for example, if you say give me the documents, get document details is what internally called as, right? So I think any application you see in today's world is uh, API calling or function calling, and that's exactly what we want to do, but using natural language. Why I said it is difficult one, because normally until now we have seen user asks a question and API or OpenAI API gives an answer. It's so one conversation, one after another. You ask a question, you get an answer. You ask a question and you get an answer. But in function calling, when you ask a question, you're gonna say, okay, I'm not gonna reply you, but I'm gonna tell you that I need to use some tools. That is the first response, and then it goes, uses the tool, gets the function response back, and then gives you second response as your answer. Um, to illustrate it to you, I just wanted to talk more about a banking scenario. So, for example, you walk into a bank and you ask customer relationship manager, "Hey, how are you doing?" And he says, "Yeah, I'm doing great, thank you." So you asked one question and he gave you one answer. But especially when you ask, "Please tell me the balance in my account," he says, "Please let me check the detail." He pulls the computer, he fetches the account details, and then looks into account details and tells you, your account number 8888 has a balance of $500 or $230 and things like that. So he gives you two responses when he has to use computer oblique his tools. So that's why I said the function calling is little bit difficult to understand. So I really wish you give little bit more attention than usual. Um, let's go to our hands-on practical. Okay, so you already know the normal happy flow where we're gonna ask a question and chat completion is gonna give us the answer, right? So we import all the required libraries, we create a message list, we create an instance, or we instantiate OpenAI client, and then we're gonna add our user message. We're gonna send whole message list or message array with which model that we want to use. For the time being, I'll just put this outside because that's not what we need now, and we will be getting a response from our API. We add this API to our message list, and we just gonna display a message list, right? This is our normal flow. Hello world, hello, uh, you can ask me any question. So this we can ask in loops until we need it, right? So for example, hello world, how are you doing today? Where can I get best apples? I'm asking any random question just to tell you that this is a normal scenario. Okay, and of course we're gonna just or append my user message API's reply, my message, API's reply to a list, and we're gonna see all four uh, messages here. Let's see. Uh, to call a function, Chat API has given us a method to tell that please give us me extra parameter called as tools, and then I'll know if I need to use tools or not. Okay, coming back to our reply, as I said, I have filling blah blah blah. You know what is going to happen, right? So my message reply, my message reply. But what if I ask him a message like, could you please tell me the balance in my account? My user ID is ABC or tester X. Okay, let's see what response we get. It's most likely going to tell us that, hey, it's a private data and I cannot access your private data. Therefore, I will not be able to reply to you. And to get this information, we will have to call functions, right? Um, it has, okay, it has given me some unsecure text and blah, blah, blah. So that's not what we're going to do. We're going to call tools. So if you see, um, this completion function, it has multiple parameters or multiple properties that we can pass. One of them is tools, and it's a list. So let's call tools with variable name tool. Uh, it's going to be here most likely, not in the loop. Instead of me typing, let me just copy it because I'm pretty sure I'll make a mistake if I keep typing it. So tool is of a type function. I think as of now, there is only one type of tool that is allowed to call. We cannot call code interpreter or anything else, at least in chat completion. Okay, so when we define function type tool, we'll have to define the function as well. And here I'm going to tell my function. My function's name is get account details. I'm going to tell its description. I'm going to tell what kind of parameters it has. Under parameter, again, what is its type and what are its properties. Properties, that means what values it's going to take as an input. Okay. Of course, I will also have then to define my function. So let's see one fictitious function that I have created. Uh, this function basically takes any user ID, any account number, and always gives me, returns me a balance of 23,478. But in real life, in your own example, it's going to be uh, a real function where you're going to have access to the database, you're going to fetch appropriate values and put it out there, right? Okay, so far so good. Okay, let's clear everything now and rerun the whole function or rerun the whole program. Okay, so it's gonna be import libraries, message, define my function, define my tools variable, instantiate my OpenAI client, and then I'm gonna just add first message of user, and I'm gonna get response from the API. Let's see what response do I get. Okay, here if you see, my content is of type none, but I have got some values into tool calls. It's a little strange because earlier we would have seen that every time we get some values in content, if I said hello, it just replied me with how are you, and but this time it has said content is equal to none, and it has given me tool calls is equal to some value. So if I want to handle function calling, I'll have to handle uh, when the tool call is none. So let's try to do that then. Mm, let's do it here. So if response dot process dot message dot tool calls, then because it's a list, I'll have to there can be multiple functions that needs to be called, right? So I'll have to handle all of them. So for each tool call in tool calls, just for the time being, let me just print it, tool call. Okay, fortunately there is only one value, right? So let's fetch everything, let's see, function name is equal to tool call dot function dot name, right? Dot function dot name, and function arguments is equal to tool call dot function dot arguments, right? So function and arguments, right? And let's try to invoke a function now. So function response is equal to function name, and let's pass the argument. And I know for a fact that this is gonna fail, right? Why? Because function name, if I ask what is the type of function name, okay, it's gonna be string. Okay, yeah, but obviously you cannot call string, right? You can only call functions. How do I handle this one? How do I say I want to call a function and not a string? And this particular thing is very easily been uh, or very nicely been handled with we just define one object where we say, okay, if I find a string of this type, just return me a name of the same type. So let's say let's let's do it here, or even here we can do it. We don't have to do it multiple times. So available functions is equal to so whenever I say available functions dot get account details, not dot, but if I ask invoke this particular object, I'm going to get this value written. And let me see what is the type of get account details, and it should be a function, right? So if I pass this one, I'm going to string, but if I pass this one, it's a function, right? So I want to call a function and not um, the string. So hopefully the error should go away if I do this particular hack. Okay. And another thing which I missed my last recording is tools. This is going to be a string. I need to convert it into JSON. JSON dot load string, and I should be able to invoke function now. Print. Just for the time being. Hooray! So let me print everything. Let me print function name, and then you will know what all things are happening here. So print name, print arguments, and print response. Okay, so of course the function name is a function of get account details. My input or arguments is account number and user ID, and it's a JSON and not a string. And then of course the output was the balance by invoking the function. Great. As per function calling in API, what we'll have to do is we'll have to, as I said, pass on all this information to into a message, and then we will have to invoke the chat completion, uh, and then once we get uh, the chat completion invoke for the second time, this is going to be our response that we can pass it on to user. So without me making any mistakes, let me just copy it so that I do not make any mistakes. Last time, as I said, I have spent half an hour recording it, and I made some horrible mistake, some typo, which I really don't want you to go through the pain. So let me do that. Okay, so we just gonna append the message, as I said, with some parameters called as tool caller ID is equal to tool call dot ID. Then the role is going to be a tool and not user or assistant. The name is going to be a function name, and the content is going to be a function response. Okay, let me see, can the name be function name? Okay, let me do this way. Okay, can I do that? Okay, let's try. Hopefully I'm gonna get it correct this time, and then we're gonna just see messages. Okay, so yeah, so this was my call, and then the final completion is the balance in your account is double it for user ID tester X, and the balance is $23,478, and then it is giving me role as an assistant. Super cool. So let me just repeat it one more time so that you get the concept. Okay. 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 So let me, for the first time, ask it, uh, good morning. Okay. Okay. Messages, define a function, define a variable tools, just list all the available functions so that whenever I pass it on a string to it, it gives me a function variable back. Then instantiate an OpenAI, and this is going to be my loop. Just a normal hello world. I invoke chat completion. I append the response of chat completion to my message array. Most likely it is not called because you see tool calls was none. So therefore the whole block would be not called because to reply to hello world it doesn't need to talk to any tools. Uh, Again, just for the fun, uh, where how much how much is 2 plus 2. Again, this time also it doesn't need to call the whole block. And if you see, the output is coming as a content and tool calls is coming as none. But now when I ask him to tell me about my account, it has figured out from my natural prompt that he needs to call a tool of type function, and the function that it literally needs to call is get account details with values account number as this and user ID as this. Let's see if it works. Okay, and this time it's gonna execute this block because tool calls is gonna be not none. Okay, and let me see. So we knew until here. So from here it was an user message. After user message there was a function call where we had content is equal to none and type is equal to function, and therefore we handled whole loop. We got all the details, we passed on to the second response, uh, and this is what a second response is. Hey, why? Mostly. Okay, why did it not do that? Yeah, sorry. Yeah, the second response was the balance is 23,478. Hope I was able to help you with that. I know that this was a very long one, uh, as I said, a complicated one, but most powerful one as well. So please do practice. If you have any concerns, questions, queries, please feel free to ask. Until then, ciao.